Hi, in this video we're going to do some very basic stuff. We're going to look at how to do a little image, making it 32 by 32 size as far as pixels are concerned. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to first start off by going to File, and I'm using Photoshop Elements. It doesn't matter which version you're using, if you're using 11 or 12 or an older version, they're pretty much all the same. And I'm on Expert mode, as you can see, but I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to say New, and I'm going to say Blank File, or Control N. And you can see I've already set this up to be 32 by 32 pixels at 300. I'm leaving it RGB because I want color. And I'm setting it as transparent because I want it to have an alpha channel that's clear on it. I don't want to have any white or black backgrounds or something along those lines in it. And I can change this too if I want. So it's something, and I know what I'm going to do for this. I'm going to do an apple for this. So I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say OK. And you'll see it's very small. So one of the first things I need to do, and if I go up into View up here, you can see that I'm going to be able to go in and zoom in and out with the plus or the minus key. And I can also do a plus and equals. But I'm going to do Control and I'm going to do a plus on my keyboard. I'm using a numeric plus. It doesn't matter which one you use. And you can see that I can blow this up and shrink it down really easy. Now you'll see there's a lot of different colored squares going on. We got white and kind of gray, and those are basically telling us those are pixels. If I was going to do some pixel painting, which we'll talk about later on, then I would actually be able to go in and actually do some painting with these with my pencil tool or my brush or whatever I choose to do, and actually use these as guides for that. But anyway, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to do something very simple, like I said in the beginning, and that is we're going to go into our graphics, which are usually down here at the bottom. It may be up here depending upon the version. I'm going to go into graphics, and you'll see that it gives me a list of different things over here I can pull from. They're automatically here, and this guy right here, these two are pretty famous. You see those on a lot of things, and I've got some rabbits and so forth. One of the things I could do is I could pull this little rabbit head here if I wanted, a cat head, and I could use that. But I'm just going to stick with this apple for now, only because it's really simple to use. And I'm just going to drag and drop. So left click, hold it down, drag and drop. And then I'm going to go in and catch the corner, and I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to stretch this as big as I can get to fit within this space. Now remember, we're using 32 by 32. That's really small, so I'm going to leave a little bit of space. I'm going to add a stroke, which we'll talk about in a little bit to that. One of the things I can do is I can use my arrow keys to kind of fine tune this so I can actually line this up somewhat where I want. And that's close enough for our purposes. And hit the check mark, hit enter, and click off of it. Now if I go back and shrink this down, you can see that I now have a picture of an apple going on. And if I was going to use this for a game, for instance, just an icon, or I was going to do it for something along those lines, then I would actually be able to do that as long as that was the size I needed. So I've now got this, but I don't want a black one. I want to have a different color. So I'm going to come in here and change the black just by clicking over here to some form of a red that's kind of more like an apple color. Say OK. And I'm going to simply click on our bucket tool over here, and I'm going to click it. And you'll see now when I shrink this down, you can see that now it's more like a red apple. And then there's a couple more things we can do this. The easiest way is just to right mouse click. Once I go back to my actual arrow tool, I can right mouse click and I can say edit layer style. Or I can go to styles up in my top up in here too. But I'm going to go into here and I'm going to do a stroke. Now a stroke adds, you'll see this big black line. Of course I can change the color of it. That's pretty big. So I'm going to drop that all the way down to about a 1. Just so I get some on that. What that does is it'll make it stand out a little bit more. So when I shrink this down, now you can kind of see an outline for that particular item when I click off of it. And that's really what it is. It's like an outline. So now I can go a little bit further and I can start doing some stuff as far as creating eyeballs and different things to give it a face. And we'll do something like that really quick. But I'm going to go into layers over here at the bottom again. And of course you can change it up in your actual items up in here too if you want. So you can actually see that. But because you can see layer right here too. You can say new. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a new layer, and that's actually this little folded piece of paper. I'm going to say a new layer, and then I'm going to go over here to the basic shape tools, and I'm going to click that. I'm going to change my color to just white so it stands out, and then I'm going to just hold down my shift key and draw something that looks kind of white, and then try to drag that over. And then I'm going to go ahead and make another layer. It's just me. You can do it all on the same layers if you want. I can duplicate the layers, which we're going to do in a minute. Well, let me go ahead and duplicate that now. So I can duplicate that layer, and then what's going to end up happening is now I can drag that over and position that. So I'm going to make a new layer, and what I'm going to actually do now is make some eyeballs. So let me click off that. Got a new layer going on. I'm going to come back over here, but I'm going to change this to something darker. So we'll just pick black. And then I'm going to take and draw something along these lines. And it looks a little funky right now because we are doing it in the actual blown up view. It's really large. And I can duplicate that too. And I'm not worried about naming these for our purposes right now, but you should really go through and name that. And now if I actually shrink this down, you can see I've kind of got some eyeballs going on. So I could do that, and I could go in and do a mouth and so forth. And I could use a pencil tool for that if I want, and I would recommend a new layer if you do that, so that way you don't mess something up. But I can go into my pencil tool, and I can actually pick some different things. So if let's say I want to make it fairly big, and I want to change my color so it's not black, but to something closer to white. And I should be able to go in and do that. See how big that is? So we need to change the size of that. Right now it's really big, 100% opacity, and the size is at 9 point. That's a little too fat for what we're doing. So we have to kind of play with this and see, what it is we need. I'm just doing Control Z to undo that. I'm at 3 points, so again, I can go keep doing this, and then I can just come in and just carefully draw something in here, and I don't really care how accurate that is for our purposes. And then if I shrink this down, you can kind of see I've got this little smile going on. So the purpose of this is just to kind of introduce you to a few of the tools that are available to you, and of course there's other things I can do to these objects we'll talk about later on in upcoming videos. But again, the whole purpose of this is to introduce you to creating something and working with something really small and using some of the shapes that are available to you within the program already. And it doesn't matter whether you're using Photoshop 6, or you're using the Elements, or you're using GIMPs or some other brand that's out there as far as a photo editor. They all have these kind of things going on in them. They're just different. And so, one of the things that you can do is explore with each one of those and see what you have. Like I have these. Let's say I want to put some glasses on this. I could actually bring this over and resize this to fit my guy's face. And if I don't really care about if it stretches or not evenly, I can do some resizing of this as well. And you can kind of see I've got some eyes going on here now, and if I shrink this down, I gave them a totally different look just by doing that. And depending upon what you're doing, if your eyes could get away with that as far as being more sinister looking just by using that one particular item instead of them being sunglasses, that's kind of what it looks like in this particular case. So anyway, have fun playing and experimenting, and don't be afraid to try to do something that's a little bit out of the box. And we'll see you in the next coming videos. Thank you for listening to MindExpanse.com.